Detroit residents on the witness stand, and some of them in tears, telling federal bankruptcy judge Stephen Rhodes they simply cannot afford to pay their water bills, and as a result, their water has been shut off. The judge is deciding whether to order Detroit to stop the shutoffs and restore service. 7 Action News reporter Jim Kirchner is live at the federal courthouse downtown Detroit. Jim, did the judge seem sympathetic to their cause?
He does, and the numbers are staggering, say one witness. We're going to show you these numbers, but get this, almost half of Detroit residents are living in poverty. The city is broke, here in bankruptcy, and this is a huge dilemma.
The problem facing Detroit is a business problem, and it's a social problem, and it's a long-term problem, because Detroit is a very poor city. People can't afford to pay.
By the numbers, Detroit is $86 million in past due water bills, $21 million, or only a quarter, commercial accounts. They've done 20,000 shutoffs since March, 24,000 last year. Detroit Mayor Mike Duggan has a new 10-point plan. For people at least $150 or 60 days late, they can face a shutoff. They would get 3 notices before it happens. They can pay 10% down to get the water restored, but if they still don't pay, then it becomes 30% down and 50% down. Crisis assistance is available. City officials testified the non-payment of bills threatens its ability to operate, sell bonds for upgrades, and could kill the pending Regional Water Authority deal with the suburbs. Social advocates say the solution is simple: for Detroit to offer discount rates to low-income people based on affordability and pass the difference on to paying customers with higher rates. City officials say that's not legal under Michigan law, but the advocates expert says if it is approached as a business decision, getting something rather than nothing, it will keep the water flowing, and it is a trend.
Utilities around the nation have been adopting this for exactly the reason that I'm talking about.
And is it up to 30 states?
It's just over 30 states.
This hearing continues here first thing in the morning. It's not clear when Judge Stephen Rhodes will decide this, and it may not even be a formal order. He might just simply make a strong suggestion to the city. We'll be here tomorrow and keep you posted. Live downtown, Jim Kirchner, 7 Action News.
A hearing about the future of water shutoffs in Detroit will continue tomorrow. Today, bankruptcy judge Stephen Rhodes heard testimony from both sides about this. The city says when people don't pay their bills, it makes it more difficult to sell bonds for future upgrades, and that could kill the Regional Water Authority. But social advocates say Detroit should offer discounted rates to low-income customers. Now, if that happens, some customers may end up paying higher rates to make up the difference. City officials have said that is not legal under state law, but some experts say it can be done.
Utilities around the nation have been adopting this for exactly the reason that I'm talking about.
And is it up to 30 states?
It's just over 30 states.
Judge Rhodes has set a time limit for each side to make its case. Not clear, though, when he will make his ruling.
Well, the Detroit School Board will head to court to try and remove the emergency manager over the public school system. The board claims they have the right to remove Jack Martin from his post, but the state says his contract has no expiration date. Governor Rick Snyder appointed Martin as emergency manager back in 2009. The assistant state attorney general claims the board cannot remove Martin until his 18 months are up in January of next year. An Ingham County Circuit Court judge will hear the case on October 1st. Detroit Police Department right away.
Tomorrow, bankruptcy judge Stephen Rhodes will hear more testimony about the future of water shutoffs in Detroit. Today, the city told Rhodes it's difficult to make important upgrades to the water system if too many people aren't paying their bills. He also heard from several Detroit residents who said they can't afford to pay their bills. A utility consultant testified Detroit needs to establish discounted rates. That way residents can pay their water bill based on affordability. But city officials say that plan wouldn't be legal under current Michigan law. It's not clear when Judge Rhodes will make a ruling on this.
Well, clean.
Another chapter in the water shutoff story in Detroit. Some Detroiters affected by the shutoffs were given a chance to argue against the practice in bankruptcy court today. Now, among their arguments, number one, that Child Protective Services can actually come in and remove children from homes if the water's been shut off, if they have no water. A utility consultant also testified saying the water shutoffs don't work and they don't lead to customers paying their bills. 19,000 homes have now had their water turned off in Detroit. The city will make its case tomorrow.
Detroit water shutoffs, the focus today in bankruptcy court. The judge will decide if the city will be allowed to continue shutting off water to delinquent customers. Today, 4 Detroiters who had their water turned off told the judge what life is like without water. They say their homes are unlivable and they have to wash and drink with bottled water. The utility consultant testified that the city's affordability plan to help Detroiters with their payments is a failure. Tomorrow is the city's turn to justify why the shutoffs are needed to prompt people to pay what they owe. Governor Rick...
16,000 homes have had their water shut off in the city of Detroit today. Some of those residents are testifying in federal court as bankruptcy judge Stephen Rhodes looks at the water fight. Fox 2 legal analyst Charlie Langton now joins us live. Charlie, turned out to be an emotional day.
I'll tell you what, Hugh, this is one of the saddest days of testimony. 4 people who had their water shut off testify what it's like to live without water. Now, Maureen Taylor, she's a welfare rights advocate. We know her from Let It Rip many times. She got on the stand today to basically testify, and she said in her words, well, not having water was beyond sad. Child Protective Services could come in and take children away with homes that without water. And that homes without water are virtually unlivable. And this sad that she has seen thousands of homes where people have to wash and drink with bottled water. Now, Roger Colton, he is a utility consultant. He testified today that it is a failure. The city's plan to try to, their affordability plan to help people pay their water bills was unworkable. It didn't work. One of the reasons is because those people have to put down 10%. And if you miss a payment, it's 30% that you owe. And if you miss 2 payments, 50%. Forget it. He also testified that basically shutoffs don't get people to pay the bill. And why? Because he testified that over 50% of the people living in Detroit are living in poverty. And you can't go throw good money after bad. It is a real problem. The city will make its case to justify water shutoffs, and that'll happen tomorrow morning. Hugh?
So, Charlie, is the city aware of the families that can't pay, and what do they plan to do about it?
Well, this is a problem, and it's a problem because of the poverty situation. I mean, these people are living in virtual destitute. They have no money. They're living on Social Security disability. They're living on minimal income, these low-income people. Now, the Colton actually testified that he had a plan. The plan was base water payments on the ability to pay. It was actually a plan that he advocated and gave to City Council over 10 years ago, but it never got implemented. Bottom line here, the city's going to have to justify its plan. There's a lot of testimony in the record right now that says that even with the city's plan, people can't pay. They just don't have the money. Far bigger problem of poverty than people's ability to pay for their water. We'll be back here again. Remember, the judge's only issue here is whether the judge should order a moratorium, a stoppage of shutting the water off. We'll be back here tomorrow morning outside the bankruptcy court. Back to you guys.
All right, Charlie, thank you.
Well, Detroit's water shutoffs caused embarrassing international headlines for the city of Detroit. And today the issue came before Detroit bankruptcy judge Stephen Rhodes. Our business editor Rod Maloney joins us live downtown today with the latest on how today's hearings went. And Rod, the city's image really is at stake here.
Yeah, you know, there is a lot at stake here, but also there's the larger question of whether Judge Rhodes actually has jurisdiction here. But he's holding this hearing, and it went for quite a while today, and of course the big concern is whether water is a human right and whether the city can go after the people who haven't paid their bills. The Detroit Water and Sewer Department started aggressive water shutoffs last spring, and thousands lost their water service. In federal court today, advocacy groups went before Judge Stephen Rhodes looking for a temporary restraining order to stop the city's shutoffs, even after Mayor Duggan resumed them a couple of weeks ago.
The city's plan is doomed to failure.
This man is Boston area consultant Roger Colton, who has come up with his own plan, one that the city did not use in 2005, and one that he claims will bring in more money now and deal with the real problem of residents who cannot afford to pay their water bills.
It is an unreasonable response to say, if you can't afford to pay your current bill, what we're going to do is to increase your bill. by making you pay your current bill plus something more towards your arrears.
After Colton, Michigan Welfare Rights Chairperson Maureen Taylor testified that she's witnessed up close the tragedy of water shutoffs and testified, quote, DWSD has good people, but it is a strange organization, end quote. She admitted to helping a woman who owes DWS money, quote, I'm hiding her while I figure out what to do. It is beyond sad and a terrible thing to see children with no water, end quote. She too doesn't think the 10-point plan will work and admitted, quote, I'm embarrassed that my beloved city has sunk so low. I am now of the opinion you cannot embarrass them, end quote. Now, what they are asking for is a temporary restraining order to stop the city from implementing its 10-point plan, which, by the way, came as a result of Judge Rhodes ordering them to go back and talk about this. They're back in court tomorrow for more testimony, but it could be that Judge Rhodes is looking at perhaps sending everybody to mediation to solve this problem. Reporting live downtown, Rod Mullivan, Local 4.
7 Action News.
Okay, Malcolm, thank you very much. Only 7 Action News cameras rolling as 2 federal mediators deeply involved in Detroit's bankruptcy are now involved in the transfer of power from the emergency manager. 7 Action News reporter Jim Kurtzner has been reporting on this and the behind-the-scenes efforts here, the talks for weeks. And Jim, this is what they say would be far from a done deal, right?
That's what they're working on, Jeff. We've seen it happen before with these mediators. When they get involved, they can resolve disputes large and small. They're definitely involved in this. It also prevents those involved in the negotiations from talking. But they were here at City Hall this afternoon with the City Council, with the mayor. They are just days away from getting back full control of their city.
It's a closed session, and we aren't allowed to talk about what went on in the closed session as much as I would like to.
Inside this group, Chief Federal Judge Gerald Rosen and Attorney Eugene Dreicher, the architects of the grand bargain in the bankruptcy case. Now, sources say, coming to talk to City Council members and the mayor about continuing the powers of emergency manager Kevin Orr. Orr took over control of the city in March of last year. His 18-month term expires this weekend. The delegate balance, continuing powers for Orr to execute orders and other things tied to Detroit's plan of adjustment, still unfinished in the bankruptcy trial. Sources say City Council won't have to vote Kevin Orr out, but may vote on Thursday on a legal transfer of power document.
The federal, they were invited as a courtesy on a legal question. Anyway, well, everybody's working. We'll see what happens.
So not a done deal, but sources say not contentious. However, it is kind of sticky. No comment from Kevin Orr. He'll be done as emergency manager on Monday. He still has to testify in the ongoing bankruptcy trial. I'm live downtown. Jim Kurtzner, 7 Action News.
Well, Jim, we know that Kevin Orr's deal will be done this weekend, but is there any talk about having him stay on as a consultant to the city?
That's to be determined. They want him to have some powers to see the bankruptcy to the end. Whether he's given the title of consultant or something else, that's what's going to be in this legal document, and it could be voted on by the council on Thursday.
Okay, Jim. Thank you.
Detroit bankruptcy judge Stephen Rhodes will soon be deciding whether to order the city to stop water shutoffs and restore service to tens of thousands. A 2-day hearing shows Detroit has a $2 million fund to give a 25% discount for low-income people to help pay their bills. The city also has a plan to pay 10% of the bills. You'd then be able to get your water back on and have 24 months to pay the rest of the balance if you were in trouble. But the judge even questioned what is available for people on a fixed income who cannot pay. The city said outside agencies can help, but not everyone will be eligible for that help. Advocates want shutoffs to stop for 6 months.
We want to work really hard to get a comprehensive, cohesive plan of rules and regulations in place for Detroiters that folks could look at and know exactly what their rights are.
And you don't think they're there yet?
They're not there.
You know what the changes are?
Absolutely not.
It is not clear when the judge will rule on all of this.
A new video tonight from
Battle continued in federal court today over water shutoffs in the city of Detroit. Attorneys for Detroit residents fighting shutoffs want a 6-month moratorium in order to establish a plan for those who cannot afford to pay their bills. But city attorneys say that plan would lead to more delinquencies and would boost rates for people who pay their bills on time. General Motors.
Detroit city leaders make their case in bankruptcy court today, defending debating the use of water shutoffs to get people to pay their bills. It's estimated the city is owed about $90 million in unpaid bills. The city argues it can no longer afford to keep providing water to those who don't pay. The judge must decide whether to put a stop to the shutoffs until another solution can be found. He's expected to issue that ruling next Monday.
Detroit's bankrupt.
Well, speaking of Detroit, in your off-the-chain editorial this week, you talk about what happens now that Kevin Orr is winding up his tenure as emergency manager.
Yeah, if Kevin Orr goes, I mean, Saturday's the deadline. The city council can throw him out by state law, but what happens if they throw him out? Then who's going to ride the thing through bankruptcy court and make sure we get on with this readjustment plan? So what you saw today was Orr rescinding this 45,000 parcels of land that the city owns to a land bank, which Duggan wanted, and the city council checked them on a vote of no. So Orr said, no go on that. You can see the political movement going on, that there's some bargaining going on. I don't think Orr's going to disappear come Saturday.
Well, I'm told that the city council has the votes to send Orr packing when they want to, but they may not.
There's probably a deal in the works. Again, if Orr says, okay, I'm not going to give Duggan what he wants, he gave city council what they wanted, they got to give something back probably. Now, what does Duggan want in all this so as not to make waves? One theory is there's this city, the civil service. He can't blow that up. I mean, we need the bureaucracy redone, but he wouldn't have the power. Orr does, and if Orr stays through, say, Christmas, he could do that. It's not over. It's really just beginning, and it's at hyper speed.
Yeah. Lots happening.
That makes sense.
A couple of weeks.
I mean,
A lot of balls in the air.
No pun intended. Okay.
Sterling.
Thank you.
Detroit is in the home stretch of exiting from bankruptcy, and the final court proceeding takes place in October, and Kevin Orr's term is up on Saturday. So now what? Well, our Mara McDonald joins us live downtown, and Mara, all involved are vowing a smooth transition.
They sure are, Carmen, and one of the reasons for that is when the usual political chest thumping started around here about throwing Kevin Orr to the curb and his legal team with him, the judge in charge of this case made it extremely clear that that would be very detrimental to the process.
What we're trying to do in the bankruptcy is really not just restructure the balance sheet, but give the city the adequate resources it needs to deal with services.
He's the quarterback of the largest Chapter 9 filing in the history of this country that erases billions of debt for Detroit and puts the city in a position to move forward without crushing bills. And while Orr's term as emergency manager is up on Saturday, don't expect to see bankruptcy wrap up completely until sometime in November.
With the bankruptcy still going along, Kevin Orr is the person that probably knows more about it than anyone. So to have Kevin part of the bankruptcy process, I think would be very helpful to everyone. Again, those decisions don't lie with me in many respects. They lie with the city council and the mayor. So hopefully we can see progress there.
While some Detroit City Council members may want to show him the door as soon as his term is up, don't bet on it. The judge in this case has made it clear it's lunacy to remove Orr while the case proceeds through court. And while City Council and the mayor met behind closed doors today and aren't talking on the record, sources tell us while there could be a symbolic council vote to remove Orr, he will stay on until the job is done. There will be a smooth transition to Detroit's post-bankruptcy era. Back here live and realize that the nation is going to be watching that transition out of bankruptcy, and how it is handled really signals to people whether this city is open for business or whether it's going to be business as it has been in the past. We're live downtown tonight. Mara McDonald, Local 4.
All right, thank you, Mara. The Detroit water shutoff issue is soon to be decided. The trial ended today in bankruptcy court. Our business editor, Rod Maloney, was there. And Rod, when will we hear from Judge Rhodes on this, do you think?
Judge Rhodes says he's going to have a decision on Monday morning, 8:30, bright and early. Now, we've had 2 days of testimony on this case. A lot of legal wrangling went into this, and it was a long and perhaps difficult day for both sides. On the stand the longest today was Deputy Detroit Water and Sewer Deputy Director Darrell Latimer. He testified about the city's 10-point water plan built after this lawsuit was filed. He said, quote, shutoffs have decreased since the 10-point plan. They've gone from 700 to 900 per day to now 300 to 400 per day. The 10-point plan is successful. When pressed as to whether shutoffs are permanent, he said, quote, water shutoffs are not permanent. 24,000 done last year, with that many accomplished this year so far. 14 to 15,000 customers have paid up and restored service, which is usually returned within 24 hours after a shutoff. Currently, there are 16,000 people in payment plans with the Detroit Water and Sewer Department, end quote. When asked about whether Detroit's poorest are aware of DWSD's programs related to water shutoffs, he quipped, quote, I would say that everybody in the United States knows that the DWSD is shutting off water, end quote. Attorney Alice Jennings brought this lawsuit and called